Well, anybody can comment because we have some very long sentences here. And I think we should begin at the beginning with the
yes, from the
third
top.
line. Yes. Where Sri Aurobindo says there are brighter earths and wider heavens than ours. It's very, very interesting. Huh? Brighter earths and wider heavens than ours. And I wonder here, he's not referring, I think, to an evolutionary earth, but the fact that there are brighter earths and wider heavens than ours as a result of Satchitananda. And so he says there are realms where being broods in its own depths. So where are those realms where being broods in its own depths?
Actually, this earths and heavens in the plural, quite interesting from the point of view of the Vedic usage. In the Vedas, they speak about 3 earths and 3 heavens. And these 3 earths are actually the physical, the vital physical, and the mental physical. And this is what constitutes the physicality, the earth. Yeah? And 3 heavens is also the physical mental, vital mental, and mental, so to say. Higher chakras, as we refer to them. So in a way, it fits very well to use this kind of terminology.
Yes, when Raghunath and I do the Life Divine, he speaks of these aspects are in every plane of our consciousness, whether it's even in matter or mind or life, whether it's in the higher realms, that is always there. And there are these realms where being broods in its own depths. Could someone read being for me?
Pure being is the affirmation by the unknowable of itself as the free base of all cosmic existence. It's from Life Divine.
Carry on.
The Absolute manifests itself in 2 terms, the being and the becoming. The being is the fundamental reality. The becoming is an effectual reality. It is a dynamic power and result, a creative energy, and working out of the being. A constantly persistent yet mutable form, process, outcome of its immutable formless essence.
Everything is in becoming because the Absolute in being is producing this. It's an effectual reality, he says, and a dynamic power and a result and a creative energy and a working out of the being. A constantly persistent, it never ends, yet there's a mutable form or process or outcome. We see this happening all the time in nature. She's creating new flowers, she's creating new animals, she's eliminating some, creating others. Constant process of this immutable, formless essence of the divine being. So please carry on.
What is original and internal forever? What is original and internal forever in the divine? What is original and internal forever in the divine is the being.
Yes.
What is developed in consciousness, conditions, forces, forms, etc., by the divine power is the becoming. The eternal divine is the being. The universe in time and all that is apparent, and all that is apparent in it is a becoming. From
There
that
we are. So very clear. The divine is the being. And from this being, from this Purusha, all of Prakriti creates. So the eternal divine is the being, the universe in time, and all that is apparent in this universe in time is a becoming. So there's a few more to go through.
Being and becoming, one and many, are both true and are both the same thing. Being is one, becomings are many. But this simply means that all becomings are one being who places himself variously in the phenomenal movement of his consciousness.
Vladimir, like to say something here from the Upanishads?
This is from Upanishads, yes, of Vidya and Avidya, Sambhuti and Vinasha. This from Isha Upanishad, where he explains this very beautifully, that truly speaking, Sri Aurobindo changes the sense of being fundamentally in the philosophical sense also. That's what I wanted to say. In the philosophy, being is understood as the being, yeah, as the creature in a way. And he puts it as existence, but something more than existence, because existence is already a formulation of the being.
Exactly.
Something which is sat, yeah, so to say, in Sanskrit terms. And that sat, it is what is. Yeah. Whatever it is just there. And from there, all the forms come into being by consciousness, by conditions. And whatever comes into being, as we know it, is becoming, yeah, so to say.
Yes. So, two more, Natalie.
Our whole apparent life has only symbolic value and as good as necessary as a becoming. But all becoming has being for its goal and fulfillment, and God is the only being.
Very fine. Last one.
Our being is a roughly constituted chaos. Sorry. Is a roughly constituted chaos into which we have to introduce the principle of a divine order from the synthesis of yoga.
How true. It feels in its immense dynamic core, its nameless, unformed, unborn potencies that cry for expression in the unshaped vast, ineffable, beyond ignorance and death, the images of its everlasting truth look out from a chamber of its self-wrapped soul, as if to its own inner witness gaze, the spirit holds up its mirrored self and works. The power and passion of its timeless heart, the figures of its formless ecstasy, the grandeurs of its multitudinous might. Very long sentence. And I suppose we should go through as much as possible. So we see that being is brooding in its own depths. And it feels in this immense dynamic core, its nameless, unformed, unborn potencies. And they cry for expression in the unshaped vast. that expression we would call perhaps Prakriti. Ineffable, incapable of being described, beyond ignorance and death. The images of its everlasting truth, and notice that he capitalizes truth here. What do? They look out from a chamber of its self-wrapped soul. Self-wrapped here, Sri Aurobindo is making one word of it, which is, I would say, deeply engrossed, as if to its own inner witness gaze. And we don't have witness gaze, but we do have witness soul from Essays on the Gita, where Sri Aurobindo says the witness soul is the immutable Purusha. Now, through this inner witness gaze, we see that this spirit, this consciousness above the mind, this Atman or self, which is always in oneness with the divine, holds up its mirrored self and works. And what does it do? Well, it holds up also the power and passion of its timeless heart and the figures of its formless ecstasy, the grandeurs of its multitudinous might. I think here we have no definitions to really go through. Multitudinous, of course, is crowded or in a poetic sense or consisting of many parts. And then Sri Aurobindo is going to take us into a new realm. Thence comes the mystic substance of our soul. Thence is a very poetic term, which means from that source or from that place comes the mystic substance of our souls. And where does it come? Into the prodigy of our nature's birth. Prodigy here is something wonderful or marvelous. It's a wonder. We often use the word prodigy in a different sense, but here it means something wonderful. And what is this prodigy of our nature's birth? There is the unfallen height of all we are and dateless fount of all we hope to be. Fount, of course, is the source or the origin. On every plane, the hieratic power. Well, we have to go through a little bit here because hieratic is usually associated with sacred persons or their offices, or it can be often used as the sacred or secular writings, such as the Egyptian hieroglyphics. Now, we have done power before, so we'll continue on. On every plane, the hieratic power, initiate of unspoken verities. Well, initiate, of course, is a novice, a beginner. Of unspoken verities. Verities are statements or principles or beliefs that are true, and they are an enduring truth. So what does this initiate of unspoken verities and the hieratic power? Well, it dreams to transcribe and make a part of life in its own native style and living tongue, some trait of the perfection of the unborn, some vision seen in the omniscient light, some far tone of the immortal rhapsodous voice, some rapture of the all-creating bliss, some form and plan of the beauty unutterable. Well, we have some things to go through here. And let me begin. Transcribe here. To transcribe something is to transliterate it. In music, when we transcribe something, we rewrite for different instruments or different mediums. As an example, one of the greatest symphonies for strings are by Samuel Barber. He wrote it at first for a string quartet, and then he wrote it for a full orchestra, and then he wrote it for a choir. So you see, this transcribing and making a part of life in its own native style and living tongue. What does it want to do? It wants to transcribe and make a part of life some trait of the perfection of the unborn, some vision seen in the omniscient light, some far tone of the immortal rhapsodous voice. Now, the rhapsodous here is, Sri Aurobindo is using it as an adjective. But in ancient Greece, someone who recited epic and other poetry, especially professionally, was a rhapsodist. But here, I think we can say it's an adjective to the voice, a voice which is capitalized. And then some rapture of the all-creating bliss, some form and plan of the beauty unutterable. I would like to go through the word bliss, if someone could read that out, and then the word beauty.
Perfect happiness, serene joy or ecstasy, self-bliss, world bliss. Sri Aurobindo. For from the divine bliss, the original delight of existence, the Lord of immortality comes pouring the wine of that bliss, the mystic soma, into these jars of mentalized living matter, eternal and beautiful. He enters into these sheets of substance for the integral transformation of the being and nature, the life divine.
Well, here we see so clearly that the divine is pouring into each of us the wine of that bliss. The divine, of course, is the Lord of immortality. And from that divine bliss, that mystic soma, he pours into us, he calls it here jars of mentalized living matter, eternal and beautiful. He enters into these sheets of substance for the integral transformation of the being and nature. So the last one then from the synthesis.
And so this bliss, oh, should I go on?
Yes, please, please.
And this bliss is not a, oh, I think the screen changed on me. I was reading. Vladimir, can you go back to the lexicon? Thank you. And this bliss is not a supreme pleasure of the heart and sensation with the experience of pain and sorrow as its background, but a delight, also self existent and independent of objects and particular experiences, a self delight which is the very nature, the very stuff, as it were, of a transcendent and infinite existence, the synthesis of yoga.
If we could live that, that this bliss, this ananda, is not a supreme pleasure of the heart and sensations, with the always accompanying experience of pain and sorrow as its background, but it's a delight, also self-existent, so it exists and it's independent of objects and particular experiences. It is the true ananda, a self-delight, which is the very nature, the very stuff, as it were, of a transcendent and infinite existence. Wow. So we will carry on then and see. Someone can read a bit about beauty, because I'd like to end there today. It's a perfect place to end. Okay, beauty, someone?
I can read it.
Good.
Sri Aurobindo. Beauty is the special divine manifestation in the physical, as truth is in the mind, love in the heart, power in the vital, the future poetry.
Well, it's
Beauty.
very special, isn't it? It's the special divine manifestation in the physical. So beauty is that divine manifestation in the physical, as truth is in the mind, love in the heart, power in the vital. So we have to remember this. This is very, very important, because it has gone down into the physical beauty. It's a special divine manifestation in the physical. Of course, truth is a special divine manifestation in the mind, and love in the heart, power in the vital. See, this is the future poetry, and I have quite a few quotes here that I'd like you to read, because we don't read the future poetry very often, and it's not an easy book to read. So please continue.
Beauty is the way in which the physical expresses the divine, but the principle and law of beauty is something inward and spiritual and expresses itself through the form. From the future poetry.
And so we see that beauty has to express itself through form. And that is why here on earth, we immediately gravitate towards something beautiful. It could be a flower. It could be an animal, a bird, a human being, a child. So many possibilities here on this earth. But the principle and the law of beauty is something within. And it's also spiritual, but it has to express itself through the form. Next one, please.
Beauty is Ananda taking form, but the form need not be a physical shape.
Mm-hmm.
One speaks of a beautiful thought, a beautiful act, a beautiful soul. What we speak of as beauty is Ananda in manifestation. Beyond manifestation, beauty loses itself in Ananda, or You may say beauty and Ananda become indistinguishably one.
Very clear, very beautiful. Next.
Beauty is not the same as delight, but like love, it is an expression, a form of Ananda, created by Ananda and composed of Ananda, from the future poetry.
Continue.
To find highest beauty is to find God, to reveal, to embody, to create, as we say. Highest beauty is to bring out of our souls the living image and power of God from the human cycle.
And lastly, the mother.
The mother. In the physical world of all things, it is beauty that expresses best the divine. The physical world is the world of form, and the perfection of form is beauty. Beauty interprets, expresses, manifests the eternal. Its role is to put all manifested nature in contact with the eternal through the perfection of form, through harmony, and a sense of the ideal, which uplifts and leads towards something higher. On education,
we see that there has to be something higher. Mother mentioned to her secretaries that these Russian gymnasts who came were absolutely perfect in their physical performance. And she said, if only there was some soul in it. Very interesting. So I think we'll conclude for today and continue next week, where we're going to see these worlds that are nearer to those absolute realms. Namaste, all. Thank you so much.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Namaste.
namaste.
Namaste, Narad ji. Thank
Namaste.
you.